Welcome to Ion Hermosa Beach. It's election season here in Hermosa, and because of that, we invited in some local residents to talk about what they see as the main issues. We also then invited in all 5 city council candidates to respond to those concerns and also provide them with a platform to speak directly to the voters. We hope that you learn a lot through this process.
My name's Randy Balik, and I've lived in Hermosa Beach since 1996. Yeah, my major issues are a lack of fiscal responsibility that's been in existence in this city for what I see as at least 10 years, and an increasingly difficult time in, increasingly difficult accessibility of City Hall. Those are main issues. And if I were to add to that, there's a wave of our local residents who I feel are in lockstep with ideas without actually researching issues. So the barrier I see is more city staff. Some of the city council members actually are accessible. However, I think with that comes a lot of a lack of transparency. We are able to communicate with some of our elected officials. I think we're able to have good dialogue with some of them. But when it comes time to actually, put words into action and vote on key issues and make difficult decisions, the words we're hearing don't jive with the results we're seeing, from city council meetings. I have experienced it in that we can't access city staff anymore. I used to like going to get my parking permit renewed at the permit counter. I used to like interacting with the people at the cashier's desk. You could have like small chit-chat dialogue and feel like you were part of the city, and the city staff was part of your life. There's none of that anymore. Everything's done electronically. Everything's more difficult. It's like Fort Knox over there, and it's not like it used to be. Staff numbers are the same, so it's not like we're seeing efficiencies in city business through staff reductions. Staff numbers are the same, cost of staff is going up, accessibility is going down. That makes no sense to me. Absolutely not. And here's why. There's nothing that comes to this city in the form of economic development from spending $100 million on a new city hall. Would we like to have a city hall? Do the facilities need upgrading? Sure, I get it. But I'm a private businessman. I have a company where we work in a cramped office, and yet we were able to double my business this year. We just make do. And in the private sector, we make do. We just don't go spend money blowing out office space and making it look nice. I'd love to have a nicer office. It's not going to happen. Now, I'll say this. In conjunction with that is the ballot measure for the sales tax. And they go hand in hand as far as I'm concerned. Because we've already said no to the sales tax, I believe, a couple of times, and now we have to say no again. I want to see our city come up with a good economic development plan that's actually going to achieve results before we say yes to a new city hall. I'm not opposed to a new sales tax. I'm not in perpetuity. I'm not opposed to a new city hall in perpetuity. But I want to see results first before we reward our city with a new city hall and reward some of the folks who want to have the sales tax increase to achieve new revenues. For me, if we come up with a good economic development plan that actually achieves results, more revenues will result. If more revenues result, we can actually afford to pay for some of that city hall out of those revenues, maybe balance that with a bond measure. I'm okay with that. If we see better economic development, we will not have to necessarily raise sales taxes. If we at least give it a good, honest try and it's still not working and we have budget shortfalls, then we can look at a sales tax increase. But let's try the things that can work before we just simply tax and bond. I can't speak to exactly how we've gotten to this point. Like anything as small as, say, a homeowners association, you're supposed to plan for your future. You're supposed to have reserve funds, and you're supposed to, make those long-term budget plans. It's clear our city hasn't. It's clear that our city has had budget shortfalls and poor planning over the years. How do we fix it in the future? How do we come up with a better plan to fix that shortfall? First thing is fiscal responsibility. We've got to create a budget surplus in the city and start putting some of that budget surplus, into a savings plan for deferred maintenance. It's the only way to do it, short of raising taxes, which, I oppose raising taxes before you try the hard things first. So I'll start with your second question first. What was better in the old days is we were largely left alone, or we were left more alone on the beach. And we took care of it. we didn't abuse it. The city, our fellow city members, our fellow neighbors, we love the beach. Our visitors love the beach. Leave us alone and let us use the beach. It feels like there's been more regulation and more clamping down on what we used to do. And that goes to your first question about, what do we change and how do we get back to the way things used to be? Ease up on some of these regulations. Let the events of the beach, both everyday events and planned events, proceed like they used to proceed, or at least come up with a better plan and a better strategy than we have now. Getting back to your question about City Hall and my rambling response on the sales tax issue, I believe the most important thing we can do in the city right now is come up with an economic development plan that revamps Upper Pier Avenue. I've been saying it for years. I was here when we revamped the Pier Plaza. I think that was a good thing. That was in my memory and in my time in Hermosa Beach, was the most impactful change to economic development in the city. We tried again about 15 years ago with the Upper Pier. Personally, while it looks nice, I don't think it served the purpose that we set out to serve. We spent a lot of money, and in fact, over the years, the situation in terms of economic development has gotten worse. And there are a number of rules and regulations in place that are impeding even the potential for development. Mixed use, parking regulations, certainly construction permitting, zoning, conditional use permits, all of these things, all of the systems and procedures that govern those policies and procedures need a full review. Then we need to look at what can we do with Upper Pier. And I have some ideas. I'd love to sit on a committee and talk about it, but a lot of people are gonna have some ideas. But we have got to revamp Upper Pier to entice and attract people to come to Hermosa Beach, stay, shop, eat, walk, foot traffic. And there has to be some thought given to a design to create foot traffic, bring in businesses, work with not just business owners, but almost as importantly, if not more importantly, the commercial property owners, and come up with solutions to actually make real change. Right now, the city says it's business friendly. It's not business friendly. And why do I say that? Just look at the results. Talk to the business owners, talk to the commercial property owners. Largely say the same thing. Not everybody, largely say the same thing. The city's not business friendly. We have vacancies. We can't attract good businesses. So I can't emphasize that enough. Focus on those things before you start throwing another sales tax bill on the measure and a $100 million ask on a new city hall, which makes zero sense to me.
We wanted to thank everybody who participated in our show. We hope that all of you learned a lot at home. We want to make sure that you get out and vote. And thank you for watching Eye on Hermosa.